We've got a few lined up. Okay, who knew about this? Recall, the Young Adults Ministry, Isle of Wight, refresh, renew, recall. Don't we all need a bit of those three time in our lives? Yeah, there's some last minute people have decided to go, so I'm told that there are 2 more places left. So, you know, you got to be quick, you know. Otherwise, there'll be no places left, and then you'll be kicking yourself while everyone else is on the Isle of the Wight. Yeah, so it should be good. I think the dates are the 18th to the 21st, or 20th to the 23rd, and the coach is all organized, all included. Wow, the room has suddenly gotten a lot larger, as it always does. You guys need to get on time, you know? All right, we'll go to the next slide. Okay, dubbed The Great Adventure after that wonderful movie about that small mouse that goes to New York. Who's seen that movie? Fiefel's Great Adventure, you know? It's a great movie. So a bit like that, there is the opportunity to go to New York this summer and visit the CARP structure and the CARP members there, including the sports festival, where we will show them the great game of bowls and cricket. And yeah, so it's 2 weeks ranging from the end of July, the 28th, going to August. So 2 weeks there. So if you're interested in that, go to Hyunghee after the service. We'll go to the next slide. So next month, the CARP service will be given by Bromley Community and Young Wives Meeting. I don't know how those are going, so I can't really comment on them. Anybody here who went to that a few days ago? Anyone went to that Young Wives Meeting? A few weeks ago. Oh, okay, yeah. So I guess they're quite good. So if you're a young wife, then those are basically made for you. So you should be going. And the husband's one's not included. So I don't know how those are going. On the what? Oh, okay. It will be announced. And yeah. What's the last one about? Oh, okay. I'd like to invite Hyunghee to the stage to explain.
All right. Good afternoon. So just before I go to the next slide, Young Husband Meeting is the 7th of June. Time? Yep. Probably 5:30, and place is not confirmed yet. So please, husband, please go. Okay. So next slide, please. So this is our young adult website. I don't know you ever visit this website, and we are uploading all the events, coming up event, and also the event that we already did in January and February and so on. So if you go to the website and if you click, and there's all the pictures and how it was and reflection and so on. So please see what we are doing. And yeah, January we did the leaders workshop and then young adult meeting and so on. So basically I'm showing these pictures because basically I think the only movement that as a second generation is a young adult ministry. But although we are holding this young adult workshop and young adult service, well, last month and there were like 100 people, but we only get like tithing less than 100 and so on. So imagine it's like £1, less than £1 per person. And I don't want to talk about your faith, the way of you experience, the way of express your faith and so on. But like for us, if you don't really give the tithing or donation to young adult ministry, it's sometimes very challenging to organize the event. So I came here to show what we've done past month, and we need really your help, and so that we can make it even better. Because it's only the movement that we organize as a young adult, and if we can't really make it stronger, how can we make it stronger, right? So yeah, this was yesterday. We did a Faith and Finance seminar with Uncle Chris Jones from Manchester. And we had a really great time about how to manage money, but also how to balance with the faith and finance. And it was really incredible time that we had a small discussion with Uncle Chris. And yeah, we had a bit like issue and challenges and so on. And I think really good if you can come next time as well. So we're gonna keep making some events like this, and for the young profession and university student and the blessed couple. So please join us and please donate for us. And yeah, please also enjoy this service as well. Thank you very much.
Yes, do it. Just do it. Like this week, I think I've been thinking a lot about my finances and just the way how I spent £3 to Sainsbury's basically every day of the last month when I was during my exam period. And then I thought how much money you could buy, how much food you could buy with £3. And did you know that you can buy 500 grams of spaghetti from Tesco for 20p? That's my piece of wisdom for you today. So, so we'd like to keep it light, and we want to invite the band up for a few more songs. Please rise.
Okay, thank you, Sungju. Keeping it very light. I'm going to continue to try and keep it light. I'm just going to give a short reading from Psalms. The next song we're going to sing, Give Us Clean Hands, has its inspirations in this verse. So I'm just going to read this and then we'll lead in. So Psalm 24. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. For he founded it on the seas and established it on the waters. Who may ascend the mountain of the Lord? Who may stand in his holy place? The one who has clean hands and a pure heart, and who does not trust an idol or swear by a false god. They will receive the blessing from the Lord and vindication from God their Savior. Such is the generation of those who seek him, who seek your face, God of Jacob.
We bow our hearts, we bend our knees. Oh Spirit, come make us humble. We turn our eyes
right, let's give the band a round of applause as they dismount. Okay, for the next part of the service, I'd like to invite the speaker up for today. I don't quite know how to introduce Mr. Stephenson because I think everybody has his own opinion of him. You could say he's like the man version of Marmite. You either love him or you hate him, you know? I guess that means you guys agree with me. No one seems to be disagreeing with me. I love him on Mondays when we can sit down and watch Game of Thrones together. And then I hate him when he comes down and he asks if I have any milk for his tea. I mean, he's a Yorkshireman. He got to drink tea, you know. Man got to drink tea. Anyway, I think prolific and educated is he's very knowledgeable. Every time I walk out of Pete's room, I feel like I've learned something. I walk away richer for it. So I hope that will be the same for us all today. I'd like to invite him up now. So let's give a round of applause for Mr. Peter Stephenson.
Let me clear some of this stuff away. Thank you very much. He said he was going to introduce me as the UC version of Nigel Farage, but he seemed to have chickened out on that one. I'm going to create a bit of space here because I might want to do a bit of walking. Sorry if it spoils the band setup. I thought I was going to get a pin-on mic, but thanks. I need that. I've got to hide behind something, right? All right. First, I'm going to set a timer because I do tend to go on a bit, as my friends always tell me. Right, Neil? Okay. Stopwatch, that's the best one. Okay. All righty. Then I'm going to set up my notes. Sorry about this. All right. I guess not all of you know me. And those that do, as Sunju said, some like me and some don't. So don't like myself sometimes. Some of you might be wondering, who is this guy and where is his wife and kids? And I'm wondering that myself sometimes. Well, I joined the church when I was 19. I'm 49 now. And I've been in the movement for 30 years. And I'm still single. So that's quite rare. Maybe that's quite a record. I'm not a homo or anything. But I'm just a bit choosy. And yeah, let's be honest, so other people are choosy as well. So maybe that's also a factor in there. And if you're wondering why I change the pages so often, it's because the text is so big, because I don't want to have to wear my glasses. So I figure maybe it's hard sometimes to find a wife, because I'm already getting a bit fat and a bit bald, as you can see there. And I worked out a formula for negating that. And no, I'm not going to do a Rooney. I'm not going to get a hair transplant. But I realized that just a man's sparkling personality is not the only thing that's necessary in order to attract a good wife. And so there's an equation I worked out, and that is that just as a man requires a woman to have a certain amount of beauty, women also require a man to have a certain status or even, dare I say, wealth. And so the formula I worked out is that for every square inch of baldness, you need £10,000 to offset it. Jonathan, you're in finance, right? So can you confirm that? Is there an actuary calculation for that? Also, there's I'm about 20 kilograms overweight, and I also figure you need another £10,000 for every kilogram overweight you are. So I figure I need about £300,000 just to appear as attractive as a man my age who's not balding and slightly overweight. And I just started a business, so I'm hoping that in a couple of years I'll be as attractive as a 25-year-old man. So, okay. The title of my sermon today, is it up there? Yeah. Expectation and Valuation. I'm going to put this on the floor. So, it's kind of a weird title. I was going to call it Why Our Church Sucks, but some people don't like my direct Yorkshire-style view of this kind of thing. So looking at our movement, let's kind of go back to the beginning and see where we're at. Right? So if we go all the way back, we go back to God, God was alone, and he had lots of love. And because God's always growing, right? So I assume his capacity for giving love and receiving it is always increasing. So God decided to create other beings to love and to be loved by. So do you think that was easy? I mean, you think of God creating the universe and planets, but actually creating other beings with intellect and free will that can be just like him. I think that was probably really difficult, and probably the first question God asked himself was, can it actually be done? And it would be terrible if God had concluded the answer, it's not actually possible, because then he'd be stuck with this desire to give love to an object or objects, but it would be impossible to do it. So lucky for God and us, it actually is possible. But atheists, they sometimes ask the question to try to break Christians' faith. They say, could God create a stone that's so heavy, even he couldn't lift it? You know why they ask that question, right? It's because whichever way you answer, you have to admit God has a limitation. So God does actually have limitations. For example, God cannot make a square circle, or he can't force you to voluntarily love him. So there are things that God can't do. But I prefer a more subtle question version of the one atheists use is, could God set himself a task that is really difficult? Although it's doable, it's really difficult to achieve. And I think creating other beings was about the most difficult thing God could possibly do. And, it's a testament to how great God is that he actually could do it. And after all, the Bible describes human beings as mini-gods. And so I think eventually we'll become like God, not just in the, we're a smaller version that can also create, but I think eventually we'll grow after millions of years of development and perfection in the spirit world. We'll actually become like God, because after all, God wants equals. He wants people that he can relate to almost in every way as an equal. So, but often in our faith, when we look at the condition of the world and even ourselves, we sometimes ask the question, why did God give free will to imperfect beings, especially when it's so dangerous? If God gave free will, beings who are perfect, human beings who are perfect with free will, they'll never do anything which will lead to their own destruction. But imperfect beings might, and actually, as we know, they did. And, we were born into a world that's the result of that. And so sometimes, if you're brave enough, you can ask the question, how could God be so stupid? Or how is that possible? Wasn't there a fail-safe way? And I think the way it works is that as we grow up, we have the exact amount of freedom that matches our responsibility or our ability, our maturity. So your freedom matches your maturity. And if you think about it, in the same way we treat each other like that, or those of you that have children, when children are babies, they have almost no freedom at all because they have no maturity to take care of themselves. So it's dangerous. But when kids are already quite small, they're given quite a lot of freedom. They're given enough freedom that they could make decisions which would lead to their own destruction, their death. Do you remember how old you were when you were allowed to cross the road by yourself? Actually, it's quite young, isn't it? I mean, you can see kids, what do you think, 7 or 8, and they're already making life and death decisions about crossing the road. And so God looked at Adam and Eve and he said, well, they can have this much freedom commensurate to what maturity level they should be at. And so, anyway, that's how I reconcile that idea. And so if we zoom forward through God's providence, we've got the creation, the fall, then God's terribly painful providence, full of disappointments, but still moving forward. Then we have the disaster of Jesus' crucifixion, and 2,000 years of horrific Christian history. It's not going to get that depressing, sorry, it's going to go up. And then, what we can see is God rarely got the optimal thing the way he wanted it to work out. So God's experience of the providence was always full of disappointments. And so, because I'm going to be talking about our movement, then sometimes we feel disillusioned, and a lot of people have left our movement, especially in recent years, because of disappointment. And it's related to, I think that's related to expectation as well. And so, in this day and age, in the world or in our movement, should we really expect everything just to work perfectly and in an optimal way? I don't think so. I hardly have enough time to list all the problems in our movement, all the disappointments. But I'm saying we shouldn't necessarily be downhearted. It's okay to be disappointed, but we have to deal with that. It's about maturity as well. So Do you know what? There's two amazing things about disasters. When something goes wrong, when something terribly crashes and burns. There's actually two things that are really amazing. One is, it's always a confirmation that the principle is true. Because just as when you apply a principle to something and you get a great result, a success, then the fact that the principle is reliable, it's quite comforting to know that it's always reliable. It's not intermittent. And so when things don't work out, then it's also, you can think about, I don't like the result of whatever this is, but it's inspiring to know that the principle is completely reliable and always true. And the other thing is the discomfort we feel when the principle is violated or something doesn't work out, whether it could be small things, it could be physical things like your nutrition or your health. When things don't work out, the discomfort we feel, and the disappointment, discomfort, itself is a wonderful thing because it points us towards the right path. So when something doesn't work out, it's never because we did the right thing, but the principle wasn't working that day. It's always because whether it's organizationally or in our personal lives or in our health or anything, it's always because something wasn't done the right way. Because when we do things the right way, the principle always gives you a good result. So sometimes it might be something out of the sphere of our influence, and all right, we can't necessarily control that. So it doesn't mean we did something wrong, but something didn't happen right, so we didn't get the result we wanted. And we look at our movement, and we look at our personal desires of life and our families and our movement. We talk about the word providence. So we want the providence to go forward, but it's hard to change the world if our movement itself isn't doing that well. And so, sometimes we feel a bit of disappointment, and there's a danger that we can just get used to that sometimes. But I think it's good to continue to be disappointed because that causes us to want to change things and improve things, and everybody can contribute. So when things go wrong, it's just as much an affirmation of the principle as when things go right. So it's the same in my personal life. Sometimes if I'm living in a less principled way, I become less happy. I'm lucky in that sense. I get a very immediate result, whether it's nutrition or exercise, or whether it's unprincipled thinking or behaving. I become miserable in that way. So that helps me point towards, I'm doing something wrong, that's why I feel bad. And then I can make an adjustment. I had a pretty serious depression and also a terrible back pain in 2006 when I was in Korea. I spent all my money on medical expenses, and then one of my students just gave me $3,000. She was a Christian lady, so I experienced a lot of care in Korea. And so the back pain was terrible, and the depression was terrible. I overcame it, but soon after that, when I was having a deep prayer experience, I found myself asking God for pain and depression. Can you guess why? Do you think I got so used to it when I was struggling that I got to like it or something? So I was asking God for pain and depression. It's not because I'm a nutter. I mean, I am a nutter, but that's not why I was doing it. The reason is that I realized that as a fallen person, sometimes I live in an unprincipled way, and I don't always immediately feel the damage that does. And so I don't always live in the proper way just because I technically know it's the principled way. And if I do something unprincipled in a physical sense, and stick a pin in my leg or something, I immediately get a response. So that helps me to change the behavior, to live in a principled way, to not damage myself. So, not that I go around sticking pins in my leg, but I noticed often in my spiritual life that I don't always feel the immediate effect. If you have a temptation or anything, you don't always feel the immediate effect of the damage. Sometimes it takes a long time to manifest. Like, I don't have a beer belly, but I have a chocolate belly. And because, I love sweets, but actually I need to lose some weight, although I do exercise. But when I enjoy the chocolate, I give in to the temptation. I don't necessarily feel the bad nutrition or the less energy from that. And so sometimes I feel frustrated by that, and I wish that I could feel more of an immediate response. But if every time we did anything totally unprincipled, we felt a searing pain and agony, in a way that wouldn't be good because it would take away our free will. So sometimes we can get a direct result, and sometimes we can't. Like, I remember one time, one German brother in Boston church, he woke me up He made a joke and he woke me up, and for some reason, it was startled, so I said some bad word to him, because just for a moment I was angry. And then he couldn't really recover from that, and he really distanced himself, and we weren't friends anymore for a long time. And so, I regretted that about 1 second after I had said it, because I saw the shock and pain on his face. And so in that sense, I got an immediate result. But we don't always, the way we treat somebody, we don't always see how it damages a relationship or ourselves. So, for when I had back pain, for 10 years I had it previously, but I took painkillers for 10 years. I didn't exercise. I just took painkillers throughout my whole 30s. But my back was getting worse and doing more damage, but I decided to take away the result. Since then, I've exercised, and I don't have a problem. Whenever I feel a bit more back pain, I go and swim. I'm not as good as this fellow here, but so I go and swim, and then it fixes the back pain. But I see some evil people in the world. Maybe it's a dramatic word, like Mick Jagger, for example. He always looks really happy, smiling all the time. But I know the Rolling Stones, and he's led a really, really immoral life, and I'm pretty sure he's damaged his soul terribly. But he always looks really, really happy. But he's really unfortunate in that, The fact that somebody can live an unprincipled way, but not be aware of the damage it's done, it's not a blessing. It's like, for some reason, it's like he's taking painkillers and he doesn't know. And there's lots of other sinful people. So when I struggle with, temptation or those kind of things, or just a lack of enthusiasm about spiritual growth, I find myself praying to God and wishing that I had more depression when I veered away from the principle, or more emotional pain. Because